All right. Let's move right into that next one, shall we? Another beautiful prelim fight. I mean, if you think about it over the course of the last year, when you think of some of the cards that have fallen through or cards that have just been put together, for TV and not really pay-per-view. I mean, Brendan Allen, Karl Roberson, 6 months ago, that could have probably headlined, right? I mean, I think that's an absolutely incredible fight, ranked level fighters. Brendan Allen, right? I mean, I have been talking about Sean Strickland since I was 23, 24 years old. That's almost 10 years. If this man did not get into that motorcycle accident, I really believe that he would have been something special to watch. His striking is there. I was, he was in a similar position in terms of like injuries and stuff. Like I just really wanted to watch and make sure that, he was healthy and things like that, because in the Brendan Allen fight, boy, was he having fun, right? I mean, that was a man who brought his A game from a striking perspective, even in moments where you thought he might have even had opportunities as a very long and kind of looked like a bigger fighter. Brendan Allen usually looks fairly good for his weight class. He put him to work, right? I think that was a beautiful fight for Sean. Started talking a little bit at the end. I mean, at any point in time, if Sean and Kevin could fight, I think that'd be an absolutely phenomenal fight to watch. Both guys would bring it. When we talk about Sean, I think that that's a very, very high-end fighter. He was pretty much a prospect before his injury, fighting some of the top caliber fighters in the UFC. Santiago Ponzinibbio, off the top of my head, is one of his few losses. So, when you think about Brendan Allen losing to Sean Strickland, I don't think that's as bad as people should think it is. If you've, kind of done your, homework on Sean Strickland, Brendan Allen was on a tear, wins like Kevin Holland, but Sean Strickland, it was top of the food chain type prospect on his way out, but reestablished himself there in the Brendan Allen fight. When you look at some of the things that Brendan Allen's accomplished, outside of that, I mean, he's tough as hell. Kyle Dawkins fight. I talk about Kyle Dawkins so much. I was hella disappointed that we lost that belt, but he's going to be back in it. But we got Kevin Holland, Tom Breeze, and Kyle Dawkins is his 3-0 stint with the UFC right after the Dana White Contender Series before locking horns with the head honcho himself. But I think that when you look over, the highlight reel, the tape, whatever you want to call it, there's a good opportunity for him to be able to mix it up, right? I think that his groundwork against Kevin Holland was formidable. I think it proved that he's able to kind of stand with some of the best when it comes to taking it to the ground. I mean, we know that Kevin Holland's not one of the best per se, but Karl Roberson's going to stand. Both guys are Dana White Contender Series vets. I mean, let's talk about Karl Roberson's Contender Series episode just right quick. I mean, that was a Dan Ige, Jeff Neal, and Corey Anderson cornered type of Contender Series. I mean, we also had Ryan Spann, Alonzo Menefield were also on that. Ryan Spann was who lost to Karl Roberson, but pretty much all UFC fighters now. Anderson now with Bellator, but that's a crazy good Dana White Contender Series. We can see why the show has done so well so far. But when we look at the losses, Glover, Marvin Vettori, and Cesar Ferreira, these are very, very, very good losses for a guy who was mostly known for his kickboxing. He talks about his stint on Glory, didn't really do that well. But, I think that when you look at his MMA skill, I mean, he brings good striking to the table. He's able to mix it up with some of the best when it comes. I mean, I think Marvin Vettori exposed him when it comes to groundwork, but at the same time, that was a fight where you're fighting a title challenger, in my opinion. So, once Marvin Vettori starts to see those top twos, top threes, I mean, we know that Karl Roberson is losing to that caliber of fighter. That's okay, because now he's going to be able to, exploit some of the holes in potentially Brendan Allen's striking game, because that's what he's going to bring. These guys are going to throw. I think Karl Roberson wants nothing to do with the ground. What I do like is that Brendan Allen can kind of right the ship a little bit if he chooses to play the boring card. I think if he actually, wants to call a spade, that's kind of the way to go here. I mean, there's so much opportunity for a very exciting fight if they keep it standing for a long time. Like, let's even take a look at the stats. Very equal in terms of size. They throw with volume. Both guys like to land about 3 to 3.5 strikes per minute. Allen absorbs a lot more damage. Karl Roberson is the better striker. So for me, I think that if I'm Brendan Allen, I'm working my takedowns. I'm getting up against the fence. I'm closing the distance because, these calf kicks, these body kicks, some of these heavier punches that are going to be coming my way are going to be tough to take. Roberson had a mean tear before he actually started meeting, the cream of the crop. And that's where I think that, this is a perfect testing ground for him, because this is still the guy that beat Kevin Holland, who's now, getting top 10 type fighters. Those are the things that I take away from losses. I talk about it all the time. And in this case, I really like that Karl Roberson has an opportunity here to keep the fight standing, to try and, box a guy up, kickbox a guy up, because I wanted to just quickly throw up. These guys are even across the board, right? 50% takedown defense for the both of them. I mean, Karl Roberson actually has the better takedown accuracy, which is kind of crazy. So, I mean, it's kind of Karl Roberson's fight to lose when you look at the striking ability and the potential to keep the fight standing. But, Brendan Allen got to fight a guy like Sean Strickland and see that kind of striking, at the UFC level. And I think that's going to humble you a little bit. I've watched tape on him, right? This guy's training out in Sanford MMA. He's working bags with Michael Chandler and Gilbert Durinho. These are the guys that you want to be fighting with. These are the guys you want to be training with. So that's where I don't want to put too much harp on Brendan Allen when it comes to where he's at right now, because I think this training camp has the potential to be the best of his career. And I just want to quickly look at the lines here, if I can get to them. Right there. Brendan Allen, right? Open at a -205, going down. I mean, I'm not surprised. I really did kind of outline here why I think Karl Roberson, it does have the advantage in a lot of areas, but that's on paper. The one thing, it's always the thing that always affects the matchups. It's what have they done since we've seen them? And how do these two actually match up when it comes in the cage, game plan, in the cage IQ? That's what separates fighters, right? That's what the intangibles are that Vegas can't predict. And we as people who believe that we understand the fight game from watching it for now that long, have the closest understanding of what could potentially happen. Now, that's where you always build the sides for both fighters. And again, for me, if Brendan Allen comes in as a much better striker, I think this fight has all the makings of, one of those split decision, closely contested, guys getting maybe tired a little bit, trying to work the groundwork, maybe being too tired to land the takedown. So a lot of tired clinch work, dirty boxing by the third round. That's the type of fight I foreshadow. If you watch the Kyle Dawkins fight and Brendan Allen fight, I mean, dogs. That's the kind of fight I like, right? And we talked about some of the Philly fighters already, but Jersey boy. That's the cool thing about Karl Roberson. If you ever have a chance, go check out the Contender Stories. He's got a little short video of just him kind of going around and some of the people he hangs out with. You'd be really surprised of all the fun that he does have, especially with guys like Corey Anderson and all that. So I'm really excited to kind of pitch him a little bit. Go check that video out. I think this fight, similar to the Pat Sabatini and Tristan Connolly fight, I mean, very underrated prelim card based on what we have on the main card. 2-3 months ago, this prelim card could have easily been a main card.